Well, mop-up operations have commenced in parts of Kwazulu-Natal following heavy rains that led to widespread flooding and mudslides in the past few days. At least 306 people have lost their lives in the province as a result of the rains. KwaZulu-Natal authorities are counting the cost of the damage caused by the heavy rain and flooding. Scores of families are stranded and many have been without water or electricity. The Provincial Department of Cooperative Governance in KwaZulu-Natal has appealed to affected families to refrain from returning to disaster-stricken areas. Yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa visited the province, which has since been declared a disaster area. Right, let's now across to our reporter, Ayanda Mhlongo, who is in Umzinyathi, just outside Durban. A very good afternoon to you, Ayanda. I mean, clear devastation that we have been seeing in KwaZulu-Natal, but worse still, the number of deaths and, recorded now at 306. And of course, as we feared yesterday, and we fear again today that number may increase. What are you hearing then on the ground with regards to, concerns about maybe missing relatives and other worries, that are in the province at this time?
Flo, very good afternoon to you and good afternoon to our viewers. Yes, Flo, currently the death toll in the province stands at 306, but it looks like, Flo, that number is going to increase. We're coming to you, as you said, from Umzinyathi. Behind us is the Umzinyathi River, and just a short while ago, what we've been finding now on the ground is that a number of homes, countless homes, we've been asking residents in this area, do they actually have an idea of how many homes were swept away by this river? And many saying that they don't have an idea. Others are saying 30, but that's just in the area in which they know or familiar with. But this river goes on for miles and miles and miles, and we are told that as further up as where the river starts, people's homes were swept away along with people inside. Just a short while ago, Flo, as we were here just on the banks of this river, we came across a large group of community members who had gathered, and what they're starting to do now is they've formed community teams, and they are literally wading through the water trying to find their loved ones. Very, very disturbing scenes, Flo. These residents here are desperate. Ask them how many people they are looking for, and they said that at the moment there are scores of people that are unaccounted for in this area. There were women, there were young people that were part of this group. The elderly are also part of this group, carrying sticks and using a rope as they tried to move down this river, and telling us that they are going to continue this search for their loved ones up until the point where this river ends. Despair, desperation on their faces, and although many of them have lost their homes and everything that they had and their belongings, for them the priority now is to find their missing loved ones. Apparently they tell us that some people were found further down the river and they have been able to identify, but the shocking and scary news that we get from this community, Flow, is that there are a number of people, scores and scores of people who they are saying are unaccounted for. Desperate family members, others we are told have been making their way to the local Phoenix mortuary in search of their loved ones, but others are saying that they are going to move up and down this river until they find their missing loved ones. Of course, Flo, they're saying that while they do understand that the devastation and the extent of the damage is across the eThekwini Metro and other parts of the province, but they are calling on rescue services from other provinces provinces to please come in and assist. They understand that emergency services and rescue teams here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal are clearly overwhelmed by the amount of work that they're having to do, being called out in different communities across the city and other parts of the province. They are appealing to rescue teams in other provinces, now even saying rescue teams in other countries, if they can come through and assist them to search for their loved ones. It's really dangerous, Flo. I'm just going to slightly step out of shot here for my colleague Sbu Tembe, just to show us, I mean, the river water is still coming down quite strong. It seems to be really quite dangerous. I mean, there were young children as well that were part of this group saying that they're there in search of their parents. And there is nobody to guide these community members. They are on their own, trying to obviously work against the clock, the sun rather, trying to search as much of the river as possible while it is still light, but very dangerous, Flo, what these community members are doing. And when I asked them about the dangers, and especially with young children, but they said they can't stop people who are desperately searching for their loved ones. So we also saw a team from the Gift of the Givers that has been on the ground as well. Flo, they are assessing the damage, obviously trying to find out from people what their needs are, and they said that in the coming days they are then going to be coming through to give a relief. But they're saying in the areas as well that they have been traveling to, they found similar scenes where community members have mobilized and they're wading through these rivers and streams and canals in search of their missing loved ones. So that number, Flo, of 306, no doubt, if I take what these community members here in Umzinyathi are saying, that number is going to increase. Of course, Flo, what we can also update our viewers on is that the latest statement that was being issued by the eThekwini municipality says so far the estimated cost of damage is 757 million. Of course, the assessment of the damage is still continuing, as there are some areas where officials have not been able to get to. There are some areas that have still been cut off. Take, for example, this area where we're at, and I'll step out very quickly again, Flo, and just to see how people now, this river, this low-lying bridge has been completely washed away, but there is no other access point for people, and so many of them risking just trying to walk through this very small strip of concrete that is left in order for them to get across. Now, Flo, people will get ill, people will need police and other emergency services, and at this point they cannot get through. People are going to get groceries and food, and it's difficult for them to be able to get through this river. We've been seeing them, the taxis have been dropping them off here, mothers with children, elderly women, and they now have to cross. And as you see, these two young people, this is how members of this community are crossing. In fact, this Flo, myself and Sbu have been up this river in other parts as well, and at least here they have just this little portion of concrete. In other parts of this area, the bridges have been completely washed away. So you'll find community members who live about 20 kilometers up this river are going to have to cross here and walk their way up to their home. So really difficult conditions on the ground floor. This community does not have electricity, they don't have water, but of course this is not just a problem of this community. We know that it's spread across the city of Durban. Officials are working around the clock. In the statement that the municipality issued this afternoon, they did say that they have managed to restore electricity in a number of areas, but of course there are still some 3 substations that they are still working on, which were damaged by these floods. So some parts are still without electricity, but emergency services, the officials, municipal workers are working around the clock, and indeed we did see some of them Flow, municipal workers, others trying to clear the rubble and the sand off this main road, others clearly work for the Department of Water, fixing a water pipe. So we are seeing municipal workers are out and about trying as best as they can to at least restore the water and the electricity. But Flow, on the ground, there's a desperation. It's a dire situation, as for the focus now of people is to find their loved ones. Of course, as you said, Flo, also in your introduction, that many people in low-lying areas such as this and areas along riverbanks, that they have been urged to evacuate. There are a number of shelters that have been opened by the municipality, where food, blankets, clothes, mattresses are going to be provided. And the number there, I think they said, is over 2,000 people that have been displaced that are now put in these temporary shelters. There is also, Flo, we can update our viewers that at 6 p.m. This evening, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal is going to be having a briefing where he will then brief the public on the extent of the damage so far, the relief efforts, and what government's response has been on the ground. But the appeal from community members here, Flo, to other South Africans to please assist them. But top of their priority is for rescue teams, even if they come from other provinces, even if they come from other countries, to come through to help them find their missing loved ones.